Hello folks, Typhoon Carter here, and I bring to you DPP Invitational. This is play-ins for Diamond Bracket. This is supposed to be between Tizio, Potente, AO, and Monchooo. I am waiting for these gentlemen to start. They had just told me on Discord that they are going to be starting real soon. So yeah, I got this recording set up on, and just a little bit of background about both of these players that you're both going to be seeing today. Tizio, Potente, AO, he is an Italian player. And oh, they just started. Okay, so as I was saying, this is DPP Invitational Diamond Bracket play-ins round. This is between Tizio, Potente, AO, and Monchooo. Monchooo with a Metagross lead versus an Abomasnow lead from Tizio, Potente, AO. Tizio is an Italian player who took a bit of a hiatus. He's an old school player. He's been playing for a long time. Came back recently, like earlier this year. He's been playing in some tours and has put up some pretty solid results. Monchooo, he's been a player who's quietly been very solid in DPP tournaments for like, you know, a couple years now. Basically, he's been alright for a hot minute. He's had a very good 2025. And this Metagross gets the Stealth Rocks lead up. The Abomasnow EQs here, so this is probably like Focus Sash, Abomasnow. And yeah, what do you know, it is. And this Metagross would go down to EQ, so Tizio will bring out maybe some kind of offense here. Probably has a spinner. Well, actually no, he doesn't need to have a spinner in the back, but it's very likely he might have one. As for Monchooo, the Metagross lead tells me that this is probably like maybe some kind of offensive team. Probably has like a Infernape in the back because of the Skarmory matchup, like just something that can punish Skarm. But it's not immediately clear. But as for Tizio, Tizio is a he has some very interesting team choices sometimes, very creative player. But the Abomasnow down to Sash. The question now is, how is Monchooo going to follow this up? As per the Abomasnow's moveset, it's probably like something like Wood Hammer, EQ, Ice Shard, and then Blizzard. That's the typical moveset. So Monchoo's follow-up is going to be Magnezone here. And Magnezone makes sense on these Metagross teams because, hey, you want to ensure that you get rid of the Skarmory. But the hail that Tizio has set is going to be an interesting factor in this matchup. And as for predictions, I believe Tizio is the heavy favorite going into this best of 3 series. Remember, this is single elimination, so whoever loses this best of 3 is going to be sent home. The Abomasnow is going to go down to Thunderbolt here. Tizio thinking about how he wants to follow this up. And if you're running Abomasnow, I mean, look, you don't really see this on lead. Very rare. Usually if you see Abomasnow, it's usually like on very bulky teams or like Paraspam teams with like spinner support such as Starmie, for example. That's a very common Abomasnow partner. And this Magnezone, again, we don't know how fast this Abomasnow is. It's probably max speed. And this Magnezone, it didn't show lefties, so again, this might be something like Custap. Or yeah, it might be Custap, could be Choice Scarf. One of those two is very likely. I mean, look, it could even be something like Magnet Rise with like a resist berry of choice, such as like Chople, for example. So there's a lot of possibilities. Tizio down to 210 seconds here, so Tizio really probably did not anticipate having to face a Magnezone going into this series. But the Magnezone can sometimes be oddly threatening against the opposition. Because like normally when you think of Magnezone, you're probably thinking of it as something like just a trapper. It's got one job, it's to get rid of your steals. That's what everybody thinks, right? And you know, but like sometimes like teams are not really equipped to have like good electric resist or like, yeah, because that's why something like Zapdos is often kind of a problem for offensive teams. And So Dragon Knight's brought out here. Yeah, there's gotta be a Starmie in the back or something if Tizio is sending out a D-Knight. There has to be a spinner for this. As per the Dragon Knight, I'm not even sure what this might be. Could be Life Orb. If it's Life Orb, then we could be looking at... Okay, yeah. So it is Life Orb. The Dragon Knight goes down, so 4 turns in, 4 Pokemon down. Very quick game so far. This is looking to be a quick one. And I think if either of these players make even one error, like it could be game ending. So Flygon is the follow-up here. Yeah, very odd structure from Tizio, all things considered. Like, you see Abomasnow, you see D-Knight, and then you see Flygon. The Flygon is probably Scarf Flygon to handle opposing offense. Usually if you're running that, that is why. Tyranitar was Monchoo's follow-up, so he must have not enjoyed wanting to deal with that. Was kind of my thought. And the Magnezone earlier revealed itself to be Choice Scarf because of the fact that the D-Knight went second, and usually D-Knights will run, like, you know, max speed. Not max speed nature, but like max speed investment with like a plus special attack nature, you know, something like that. U-turn does moderate amounts of damage, does 37% to this Tyranitar. So that's definitely not CB, but that's like probably Choice Scarf damage versus something like just zero bulk Tyranitar. That's probably my guess. And it's probably like DD-Tar too, for that matter. Yeah, so that was like zero bulk Tyranitar, 37%. Usually U-turn does somewhere around that 35 to 40 something ballpark. Megrit's gonna be the follow-up here, and Monchooo just opting to crunch. So that Metagross looks like it doesn't have significant bulk investment, so this could be a fast meta we're looking at here. That crunch did a lot more than I expected, so yeah, this might be a slow... This might just be a bulkless meta, but could be like Jolly meta, I'm not sure. Either that or it's Adamant Tyranitar. That's my other guess. And Monchoo slowing down here. Goes to Scizor. So Tizio showing a double steel structure with lead Abomasnow and then double dragon. So you got a lot of type overlap here. And yeah, that looks to be like just fast, like bulkless CB-Tar is what it looks like on Monchoo's end. And the Scizor will threaten a U-turn here, or a bullet punch. So Monchooo probably doesn't want to stay in here. Again, this Tyranitar has been putting in a decent amount of work. Tizio down to 1 minute on his timer. Monchooo down to 210 seconds. So yeah, Tizio kind of on the back foot here. So I would say that Monchooo is slightly ahead right now. Crunch is there, does around 33%. U-turn's going to KO the Tyranitar. So Tizio with a slight lead, but it's not a safe one, to say the least. As per Monchoo's structure, I imagine there's probably like a dragon, like maybe a Latias in the back. The other thing I would imagine is that I could, as per what else I could see, Monchooo could also have like a dragon, like a Flygon, could have a Lati, probably a Flygon, I could see that. Tizio down to 30 seconds here, so he's pressed for time right now, and Monchooo at 180 seconds. As for what Monchoo's last is, yeah, I think there's gonna be a dragon, like maybe a Scizor, like it could be a triple steel structure, but actually no, that's 2 Infernape weak, so maybe something like a Dragonite, like Fire Punchless D-Knight, I could see that. Gira, like Tauntless Gira, I could see that too. Scarf Flygon, actually no. Yeah, so like Monchoo's team needs to have like a, what if it's unrevealed, so I guess for the audience, if you guys are watching this is like a fun little exercise, like try to think about what Monchoo's last could be, like what does his team structure need, like what common threats does his team need to be able to handle? Like, based on what's revealed so far. So, like, because what I'm thinking is... Okay, Monchooo down to 2 minutes on his timer. So these guys really taking their time. So you have to... I think Monchooo needs to have something that can answer Infernape. So either a Dragon of choice. So something like a Lottie. A Flygon. Okay, Bronzong makes sense too. Because Bronzong benefits heavily from... something like a... Yeah, it could be like Akazong. Could be like Macho Brace Zong with like Trick Room. Rotom is revealed to be Tizio's last, so... Okay, yeah, the Tyranitar complements the Bronzong well. So, Rotom is revealed to be Tizio's last. Spinnerless is... I mean, it's okay. I mean, if you're gonna do it, this is probably the structure to get away with it on, I suppose, but... That Rotom taking 48% from Gyro Ball, so that tells me that this is probably Choice Scarf Rotom, so like Tizio's got a double Scarf structure here. Metagross takes a hefty amount from that, but this is kind of a tough spot for Tizio because he doesn't really have anything else that can take this Bronzong on. You have to sack something probably, either that or you have to like really pivot around this poke. So like maybe you go Flygon or Rotom, but if the Bronzong Gyro Ball's here, then you lose something anyways. And then if you lose either one of those two, you have to either bait it out again and then try to not immediately get rolled over. So yeah, Monchoo's in a really commanding position. That Tyranitar earlier did like way too much to Tizio. It's his entire team. Yeah, EQ's there, so Tizio's like, you know what? Okay, fine, no problem. I'm going to accept this loss. I don't know how. Okay. I don't think. Okay, I would Bullet Punch here. If I'm Tizio, I would just Bullet Punch here. Hope that Flygon is enough to win the game for you. That is. Like Flygon or Rotom, like you have 2 Choice Scarfers. Now, if Monchooo has a Choice Scarf Lottie for whatever reason, then you're really screwed. Is what I would say to that. And then, yeah, like a Lottie wouldn't surprise me. What else wouldn't really surprise me? Like yeah, Zong makes sense with the Mag, and then. Yeah, like there has to be an Infernape answer that's like maybe a Gira even. Like yeah, I could see that, but okay, yeah, there's the Lottie that I was speculating he might have. Oh, Tizio just flat out loses here because the Latias, or I think Tizio just. Oh wait, no. It was Depot, so no, it was Specs. My bad. Okay, so Breloom is revealed to be Monchoo's last. No crit there, so. The Breloom is going to seal the game for Monchooo. Monchooo is going to hold on and win 1-0. So he is up 1-0, and Tizio is on the back foot here. And yeah, so as I was talking about earlier before, looking back at game 1, the big issue here was like after like turn 4, the issue is just that Tizio's team did not have a great way to handle the Tyranitar. I think the Scizor, like letting the meta eat a crunch from what was a CB Tar was not a great idea. I think you should have gone Scizor there, like, because that kind of covers your bases. Like, Tyranitar is not... Okay, they go into game 2. So we have game 2 here. Yeah, Tizio once again with a very unusual... Well, okay, it's not unusual lead, but Monchooo with a Gliscor. So, Gliscor could be a few things. This could be something like Taunt Gliscor. With like Taunts Rocks. Could also be Choice Scarf Scizor. Or, sorry, Gliscor, not Scizor. What am I saying? But, as for Tizio's lead, Roserade, it's usually one of 2 things if you're running Roserade on... Well, it could be 3 things, really, but 2.5. But, it could be Choice Scarf with like a fast sleep powder. It could be Sash, and it could be like Bulky Rose. Now if it's Choice Scarf, I think this matchup gets really interesting because the Gliscor now can't really get a taunt off to prevent the Roserade from doing much. Okay, so that's either a Choice Scarf Rose versus a very slow Gliscor with like some bulk thrown in, or that. Okay, so it is a Focus Sash Roserade versus a Gliscor. I think if you're Monchooo there, okay, so I guess he didn't have speed investment. It's probably like 280 Gliscor. So if this Gliscor is slower than the Roserade, what this tells me is that we could be looking at a stall team from Monchooo. And Tizio, usually if you're leading Roserade, this tells me a couple things. This tells me that one, you're running Toxic Spike, so you probably have a Toxic Spike abuser, such as a sub Jirachee or a sub Heatran, or like sub Protect, things like that. That's probably what I'm thinking if I see T-Spikes. Or like if I see a Rose lead specifically, but these usually do run T-Spikes. So the Roserade gets the sleep off, and for Monchooo, you probably, like, either his team doesn't care about T-Spikes or only like one poke is affected by T-Spikes. So this could be another tough matchup for Tizio. I always say, like, Tizio, great guy. I've had him as a teammate before, but Tizio, sometimes his choices can get pretty exotic. I mean, the guy will sometimes load up things like Bird Spam, or he'll load up something like Weavile plus Infernape offense. Like, very creative guy, to say the least. Monchooo taking his time, so he's probably taking this time to decipher the structure. And once again, for the audience watching, take the time to pause the video, think about maybe what Tizio's team structure could be, and Monchoo's for that matter. So you could treat this as a fun little exercise. So Latias is sent out, and there's the T-Spikes. So Sleep Powder, Leaf Storm, T-Spikes reveal. Roserade's last is probably either Hidden Power Fire or Hidden Power Ground. Hidden Power Ground gives you a better matchup into lead Heatran, and the Hidden Power Fire is usually for things like Fori. Okay, so Draco Meteor is ripped. And Tizio's gonna get 2 layers of T-Spikes up, so anything that steps onto T-Spikes now, unless Monchooo has something like a Needle Queen or his own Roserade, very unlikely. Anything that's not Steel or a Clefable or is like a Levitator or Flying type is going to be eating a Toxic, more or less. So that's what we have going on. And Monchoo's probably bringing some kind of balance. Oh yeah, there's the Breloom. So that Roserade's effectively dead unless Tizio reveals himself to have a spinner, and great double there from Tizio to get the Jirachee in. Anticipating that, hey look, Monchooo is probably going to bring out either some kind of T-Spike immune or a T-Spike absorber. So in this case, Breloom was sent out, and Jirachee U-turns here. I think if you're Tizio from this position, you can probably look to sacrifice the Rose, prevent the sleep. So Breloom tried to Spore attempt there, and there was no target because the Rose got sacked. So now Tizio has a chance to start fresh, have a clean entry against something that naturally threatens Breloom. Maybe something like a Heatran, maybe something like, you know what I mean? As for rockers, usually these Rose teams are accompanied by something like a Swampert and a Heatran just to form a basic Fire, Water, Grass core. Infernape's a little less common as a partner, but it can work. But it usually doesn't fit the pace that these Roserade Toxic Spikes teams are looking to play at. They're looking to slowly wear you down to residual damage such as Toxic. And Latias is going to be Tizio's answer of choice. This is either Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. That Jirachee showing U-turn was probably the Choice Scarfer, so this Latias could be something like Choice Specs or say Calm Mind Lati. Not too sure. Scizor sent out here, and that D-Pulse does very little. Okay, so leftovers is shown. Monchooo has to be careful of Hinpower Fire, because that Scizor looks to be especially defensive. That took very little from D-Pulse, so we could be looking at a Akaberry Scizor. That's something I could also see, so like Tizio probably realizes that something's up here. Yeah, that damage was really low. And Monchooo take it real slow down here. And I'm going to take this time to say, if you guys are interested in donating, please consider donating to this tournament's prize pool. The more people that donate, if you can donate, then the bigger the prize pool will be, and it helps us support these tournaments. So there's the Hidden Power Fire. So Monchooo probably was okay with taking that if he was willing to stay in with the Scizor. Heatran is sent out here. Takes 30% from Draco Meteor. That looks to be a Specs Lottie, and it is leftovers Heatran. So for Tizio could look to get Stealth Rocks up here. The other option for Tizio, if he has Substitute, now's a great time to show it. Yeah, and this Heatran is probably like especially defensive Heatran. Monchooo down to 2 minutes on his timer. So in game 1, Tizio was the one who was really running low on time. Now it's Monchooo that's kind of in this spot. And Gliscor's gonna be sent out here. There's the Lava Plume. Yeah, Lava Plume pretty common on Lefty's Heatran, because the idea is that on anything that isn't, say, a T-Spike's vulnerable, like say a Steel or even like a Floater, you can fish for a burn. It can be really helpful against something like non-Lumgira. And Lottie is sent out. Oh, the other important information is that since the Lottie revealed Hidden Power Fire, that means that its maximum speed is at 349 speed instead of 350. So this means that the Latias will always lose in the mirror. So Monchooo bringing out Scarf Magneton. And the Magneton is going to threaten a T-Wave against this Lottie. And Pert's sent out here as the Mag response, and Monchooo makes a great double dare to catch the Swampert, gets the Spore off, and that Rotom shown to be Lefty's Rotom. And yeah, the Sleep Sack was made there so that Tizio can ensure that his Lottie can actually answer the Breloom. So this is probably like max speed, max HP investment Lottie with like Calm Mind 2 attacks. And this Lottie is going to threaten a Draco Meteor again, and that Heatran's probably going to take another 30%. Well, it's really 40% when you factor in rocks damage, a little over 40%. So Tizio not in a great spot, to say the least. You have the Lottie, which you still have some issues breaking through. I mean, the Heatran's going to be pretty valuable in this matchup. And yeah, that is Choice Scarf Jirachee indeed. Light Score is going to be sent out here, probably trying to burn some sleep turns. Swampert is going to get Stealth Rocks up, so those Stealth Rocks are going to be pretty handy because of the fact that you need to be able to like force the Lottie to take hazard damage every time it comes in. You need to be able to punish it for entering into the game. Gliscor there gets a EQ off before the Swampert goes down. That Swampert only took 23%, so this is a bulky pert we're looking at. Probably EQ, Stealth Rocks, Ice Beam, Roar. That's probably the moveset. And Latias is going to be the Swampert answer. Interesting. The reason why Monchooo is not sending out the Breloom is because of the fact that Tizio's own Latias is going to wall it all day, every day, as it is right now, unless the Breloom for some reason has Facade, but I find that highly unlikely because of the fact that if you're running Facade, it's usually on like SD Paraspam teams. Draco Meteor is thrown out here. Yeah, that's specs damage for sure. And yeah, Tizio not in a great spot because every time the Latias comes in, it's going to pick one. Like, yeah, you have to Scarf Jirachee, but this is not a great spot. I would not love to be in this position if I am Tizio, but the Heatran can probably click Lava Plume for free, but this gives a free Latias entry again. And the issue with that is that Breloom, oh, okay. I mean, sure. This might be Jolly Breloom if Monchooo was willing to send it out like this. Usually, these Heatrans are at least EV to outspeed certain things. Superpower is there, okay. Sure, but if you're Monchooo, you could actually use this turn to maybe get the Lati double in. Like if you're anticipating an opposing Latias switch. Jirachee can't switch in at all. Tizio's only real switch in is his own Latias, so you could look to take advantage of the position that Tizio is forced into if you are Jolly Breloom. So there's some mind games being played here, like in terms of EV spreads, because Jolly Loom is very much a thing, but well, if it showed superpower, it's not as common, but you can't rule out that possibility. Because the benefits of 262 Breloom is that you can get sleep off against things like Gyarados. Like let's say Gyara switches into Spore, burns its Lumberry, thinks it can threaten you, Spore again, and now that Gyara's asleep, right? Those are scenarios where Jolly Breloom would be really handy. Tizio down to 1.5 minutes on his timer. Monchooo down to 120 seconds. So Lati is double, and yeah, there's the double. And this Latias is going to threaten a Draco Meteor again. You could Draco here, you don't need to get fancy. The other thing though is that you could also surf here. If you surf here, you can't just win the game on the spot. Okay, yeah, so Breloom is okay. I don't love that. And then yeah, okay, I feel like oh, Kingdra is revealed to be the last here. Oh, it's DD Kingdra. Explodes. Tizio is going to hold on to win game 2. So great awareness from Tizio to just explode, not give the Kingdra a single chance to set up here. Nicely done by Tizio. I think Monchooo let that game get away from him. Like just kind of sacking the Breloom for no particular reason, especially when he had Kingdra in the back the entire time. I think that move was pretty baffling, all things considered. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think Monchooo let that get away from him, but that's going to make it a 1-to-1 game. We're going to have a game 3 for sure. I think every series in play-in so far has reached a third game. So this has been a pretty fun play-ins to cover so far. And remember, whoever loses here is going to be sent home, and whoever wins is going to move on to the next round of play-ins. And whoever makes it at whoever wins their respective bracket will get the last one of 2 remaining invitational main event slots. But yeah, looking back at that game, I mean, Monchooo was ahead for most of that game, and I think letting the Breloom die to that Lava Plume was kind of a uncharacteristic error. Maybe Monchooo was too afraid of a Lava Plume burn. Like maybe if it was DD Kingdra, it was probably something like Lumberry. So what likely happened was that he was probably too afraid of eating the burn, but I think at that point that is just playing way too scared. Like you cannot play scared like that. You can't be afraid of eating a burn, especially when you had a Healing Wish Latias for that matter. So I think that was a bit of a head scratcher. Like yeah, like on that Breloom turn, back on I believe it was, I'm gonna scroll up. here. But yeah, back on like turn 25, I think you just go Kingdra there. You threaten a waterfall. Like, you're still... That Kingdra is a huge threat. Like, it doesn't matter if Tizio has a Scarf Jirachee. He can't switch in that Scarf Jirachee. And the Latias, it's like, you can't... Like, the Latias can't risk eating a Draco Meteor. Like, Tizio didn't even know what the set was yet. I mean, DD Kingdra makes sense with Mag. Like, the structure makes sense. I just think Monchooo let that endgame get away from him, but it was also good on Tizio to be able to punish, like, an error like that. Knowing that, hey, look, I can probably fish for a burn on whatever comes in. So yeah, great stuff from Tizio this game. Kind of bouncing back from the game 1 where some errors were made. We have game 3 here. We have Gyarados lead versus a Metagross lead. So Monchooo bring out the meta again. The Gyarados lead could either be sub DD, could be like, there's like a couple variations of Dragon Dance Gyara that you can do. It could also just be Choice Band Gyara, like get that immediate damage. It provides like that immediate punch against the opposition. As for the Metagross set, could be something like Lumberry, could be Shookaberry, could even be like Sash. There's a few sets that it can be, but a lot of these lead meta sets, usually they will get rocks up, but Metagross lead isn't seen as much nowadays, just because something like Azelf isn't as popular. Well, okay, that's, or like Arrow leads, like HO leads are not as popular as they used to be. And then you have, in modern DPP, you generally have a lot of these anti-leads, or anti-leads, like attacking leads that just focus on getting as much damage as possible in that first couple turns. And Tizio taking a minute. Waterfall does 51%. That is a lefties meta. So this is a very bulky Metagross that we're looking at here versus a CB Gyarados. And this Metagross will probably live another waterfall. Monchooo could explode here. That's a very viable option. Usually these Gyarados structures, they are supported by something like a Pursuit Tyranitar in the back. They'll probably have something like a Breloom or a Infernape. Those are possible back options. Oh, okay. Waterfall does 55% there, so that was a high roll from what I can tell. So the Metagross is going to go down. Tizio with an early lead. Monchooo will probably bring out his Revenge Killer. His Revenge Killer is going to be Latias. He could be bringing Specs Lati for a third game in a row. And this Lati will probably deal, like, it's going to either let a Fat Draco rip or it's going to let the T-Bolt rip. The other option here is that Monchooo could be bringing out the Latias to, say, bait out a Pursuit Tyranitar attempt. Like if Tizio thinks it's Thunderbolt. So like the other option that Monchooo can do is that he could try to, say, double to a fighter such as Breloom if he thinks a Pursuit Trap is coming. And for Tizio, it's like, do you want to keep the Gyarados around, or do you want to save it for later so you can punch more holes into the opposition? Monchooo bringing probably an offense of some kind again. Jirachee is going to be the answer here. Draco Meteor misses, so that can be a little bit annoying for Tizio because, and I say this because of the fact that, like, you know, normally a Draco miss is like a good thing, but I think early in this stage in the game, you want to be able to get as much information as possible on what the opponent's team is. Wait a second. Did Monchooo bring his game 1 team again? Well, there's a chance he might have, but we don't know for sure. Magnezone is going to be sent in as the Jirachee answer. It's going to trade the Thunder Wave off, so that's pretty good for him. Oh, okay, so Lati switches out there. Didn't want to risk the... Yeah, he didn't want to risk a Body Slam para, but the Jirachee full para'd itself. T-Bolt here. Oh, getting a little bit unlucky. Oh, okay, so it's a Scarf Mag. Monchooo might have just brought his game 1 team again. T-Boat's here. Full pairs again, so Tizio getting really unlucky with these. That is pretty tough because I think Tizio just lost one of his primary Latias checks, but a lot of these teams should have at least 2 Specs Lati checks anyways. So it's not that bad, but Tizio slowing down again. So yeah, that was a pretty tough sequence for Tizio to stomach because I think he wanted to at least get 1 Fire Punch off. Because that way you could at least like perma cripple the Magnezone or say put it in range where it dies to Stealth Rocks the next time it comes in if he can get that up. But Tizio knows that the Magnezone is choice locked now, so you know this is not a bad spot. I'm usually not a big fan of Scarf Mag, but if you're running Scarf Mag, you're usually using it to fish something like a Lucario. And yeah, Tizio getting the Swampert out here, going to threaten the EQ, but in reality though, he's probably gonna get rocks up. Oh, okay, nice awareness there. And that is a CB Pert from what I can tell. That Ice Punch KOing the Latias flat out. And Gengar is going to be sent out. So no, I don't think it's quite the same team. And this Gengar will probably get a Will-O-Wisp off against the Swampert, so Tizio maybe with a double CB team, like, you know, with the CB Gira plus CB Pert. So very, very cool team choice from Tizio to bring out the double choice water. And Tizio probably thinking about whether he really wants to stay in on this Gengar. The Gengar's got threatened Will-O-Wisp, so whatever comes in is probably not going to enjoy eating a Will-O-Wisp to the face. I mean, you don't want to eat a Shadow Ball too hard either. Will-O-Wisp misses there, so yeah, that is CB damage, and that is not a great spot for Monchooo, but I suppose that is payback for the multiple full pairs that the Jirachee got, so I suppose the luck evens out. And if you're Monchooo, the question now is, do you try to, say, Pain Split or just take your damage? Oh, okay. So Rose is sent out here, probably going to threaten a Hidden Power Fire or Hidden Power Ground. But this is probably a Spiker Rose. Hidden Power's going to take out the Mag there. Tyranitar is sent out. Grass Knot's here, okay. Crit Crunch there, so we don't know what that Tyranitar set was explicitly. What we do know though is that the Tyranitar was not Scarf. The Tyranitar could be a Resist Berry of some kind, could just be DD Tar. DD Tar would make a lot of sense on this structure that Monchooo has going. Tizio down to 150 seconds. Gyarados is sent out here. Natural choice because the Gira outspeeds the Tyranitar. Tyranitar's gonna go down. And Tizio is firmly in command now. So the question is, how is Monchooo going to salvage this game? Gengar is going to be sent out here. And I think what Monchooo is probably looking for here, he either wants to get significant chip damage on this Gyarados, or he wants to get the Will-O-Wisp off. Now if he gets the Will-O-Wisp off, what could happen here is, say you have a last Pokemon, D-Knight for example, then you can try to win the game from there, but it's very likely that Tizio has some kind of Choice Scarf Pokemon in the back. He hasn't shown a Choice Scarfer yet. Like, you need to have a alternative way to deal with Scarfers. Gyarados Waterfall there. That's gonna take out the Gengar. Bronzong is revealed to be his last. And Bronzong gets flinched there, so no chance to get the Trick Room off. And Tizio will win this set 2-1. Against Monchooo, so Tizio will be moving on in Diamond Bracket, and Monchooo will be sent home early. Thank you for playing, Monchooo, and congratulations to Tizio for moving on. That said though, If you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and consider donating to the tournament's prize pool. I will probably link that in a comment on this channel, and this recording will probably go up either this weekend or it will go up early next week. That said though, I will see you guys next time.